What's going on, hockey fans? And welcome back. I don't know if I should start with a welcome back or welcome to the show. Welcome to the new look show, but the same look us. We've experimented with some mustaches over the summer, maybe some high-end tights that were a little extra high and tight. My hair almost went back down to my shoulders before I chopped it all off again, but it's still the same old us. Lucas Jones here, and the man right next to me in the Zoom room, it's Dan K. Dan, it feels like we're back. It feels like we're starting fresh. What does it feel like coming from your side of the Zoom room?
Well, right now it feels like I'm preparing to be hit by tropical storm force winds and a potential hurricane and Hurricane Helene. I'm rocking my New York Yankees hockey jersey that Lucas just delivered down during the home opening weekend for the Florida Junior Blades, a sweep for them over Bold City. Technically, I went 2-0 in the premiere. I also went 0-2 in the premiere. In the Elite, it was a complete split between the two. What an opening weekend. Lucas, I'm excited to talk about hockey because I'm wearing my Kevin Kisner Ain't No Hobby hat here this week because it ain't no hobby what we do. We're excited to be back in hockey season. Every league is back underway. Every player around the country has taken the ice, dropped a puck somewhere. Let's get after it.
Absolutely. Dan K, of course, taking a break from his storm preparation where I believe he's stocked up on as much coconut milk as he could fit into his cart. He's big on coconut milk in terms of the coffee and really just drinking it throughout the day. But Dan, I know that yourself and others in all seriousness are preparing for this storm, which is pretty big at this point, and we wish obviously yourself and all of our Florida hockey family and all of our Florida and Southern residents some safety in the upcoming days.
Yeah, and luckily I was talking with the Florida Junior Blades and Bold City Battalion. Both teams will be getting out of town before this thing hits and getting up to Chesapeake, Virginia for the Hampton Road Showcase. That's going to be an exciting weekend for them. The right time to be out of town. You know, sometimes things just work in your favor in these situations, and luckily that's going to work for these two organizations. And again, for those in the area, Palm Harbor, Florida is where I'm based out of. We are in evacuation zone B. They're already mandatorily evacuating zone A. So that storm surge, it is not something to play around with. You think to yourself, oh, we're just going to get tropical storm winds. It is not the winds that get you during these storms. It is those storm surges. It's the water coming up. But again, be safe. Let's watch some hockey here this weekend, though, coming up, Lucas. But we've watched some hockey this past week. Where do the stories start? We've got some crazy stuff. We've got news coming at you. We've got this show covers everything now. What are we covering this week?
Well, let's start with some breaking news coming out of the USHL before we get into the performance on the ice. From the Youngstown Phantoms, kind of an announcement that I think kind of reverberated throughout the hockey community. The Youngstown Phantoms, quoting right from their page, the Phantoms have learned that an employee has been arrested on misdemeanor prostitution charges. He has been suspended by the team pending an investigation. Our primary concern will always be the safety of our players, and we will continue to monitor the situation as it develops. That employee, Robert Ackery, the director of hockey operations for the Youngstown Phantoms. This, I mean, it was shocking, Dan. I think that was a response we got from a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's been around junior hockey teams knows the importance of hiring a director of hockey operations and just how much they are involved in every facet of your team. So it's important to be able to hire the right people here. And you never know, you know, in a situation like this, you look into it more. According to a criminal complaint, Ackery didn't know he was communicating with an undercover agent when he allegedly offered to pay $100 for sex acts. This is something Ackery has come out and he has pled not guilty. There's a lot more to come out of this. This is a story where the first thing you think about are the players. I do want to give basically you look at Youngstown. They were the ones to break this news, right? So you do like to see that from an organization. If you're going to handle crisis communications, you want to be the ones to break news like this. We dealt with this a few years back with the former leadership of the USPHL before this group took over the league over the offseason. And we dealt with it when a player punched an official during a game. And the goal was not to let that video get out before we got news out to the world that this happened, this occurred, and we are handling it. We are aware of it. Youngstown did a nice job there, at least in the crisis communications side.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a hockey world, unfortunately, full of cover-ups in recent years. It was great to see Youngstown really take accountability on this one, to get that statement out and to, suspend pending further investigation Robert Ackery. So taking accountability there, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion and some more details surrounding this. And as they come out, we will keep you all updated, and we'll kind of see where this goes, but we will certainly follow up on the situation with the Youngstown Phantoms. Now, Dan, let's move into some stuff on the ice from this past weekend. Some teams making their debuts across the country, some interesting hockey, and more importantly, I think some great hockey to watch.
Yeah, and I think you start in Casper. Look at the Casper Warbirds, an overtime victory. This is an organization that kicks things off in front of a packed crowd. You look at Sean Bolton. This is a young guy. I know Coach Smulovich talked about this guy ad nauseum when we were in our short stint of working for free with the team. And this is a kid who, I think was overlooked by a lot of folks. And Coach Smulovich continually drove home that this guy was. And he comes out, not only his first Tier 2 goal, but an overtime game winner in front of a packed house. Congratulations, Sean Bolton.
Yeah, it's a huge moment for a lot of players, right? It's, when you're in the Tier 3 model, your eyes are up to Tier 2, right? When you're in the Tier 2 model, your eyes are up to Tier 1. You're always looking to make that jump, and when you can get your first Tier 2 goal, Tier 2 save, Tier 2 win, that is a huge milestone for these players. So congratulations to Bolton, to Coach Smulovich, and the rest of the crew.
Yeah, and speaking of newcomers off to a hot start, how about the Westchester Wolves? 2-0-1 to kick the season. Oh, the Wolves are howling in the NCDC. 2-0-1-0, 5 points to kick off the year, giving PAL everything they can handle. The PAL Junior Islanders battling with this Westchester squad. And a player of the week in net that we'll talk about in just a bit. This Westchester Wolves team is absolutely RC-like hockey out of the gates. Tyler Casillo, Don DeSico, Joe Tarpey, the entire crew. You want to talk about a correct ownership group? You want to talk about an ownership group that puts their money where their mouth is and invests in their employees? That's what Westchester's doing. These are the types of stories we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Westchester, we talked with Coach RC Like and some of the guys out there, and they were very excited about the team they were putting together. They said that this was going to be a team that had some size, had some skill, a little bit of speed. I mean, we know Coach RC Like loves a big bruising hockey team, but there's a lot of skill on that side as well. 37 shots on net in that opening game against PAL, winning 4-1. It was an all-around team effort, and I think this Westchester team is a team that's looking to make their mark not just at the NCDC Tier 2 level, Dan, but we know at the Tier 3 level and potentially even the youth level. They are looking to be a great organization that your skater can potentially join from, learn to skate all the way up to the NCDC.
Yeah, in the New England division of the NCDC, the best Tier 2 tuition-free hockey money can buy. The Boston Junior Rangers 0-2, Seacoast Spartans 0-2, both a -5 goal differential to kick off their pay-to-play seasons. And you know what? The Thunder Hockey Club, I do want to talk about them. Moving all around, getting bumped all over the place. Just congratulations to Dan Hodge on a 2-0 start. Lucas, we also saw Commissioner Mark Frankenfeld of the Knoll out on the ice, dropping the puck, giving a speech in Watertown for the Shamrocks, a team we voted as a top 25 logo in all of junior hockey.
Yeah, that was awesome, right? To get to see, the commissioner come out onto the ice and drop the puck on the season. It does feel official. It does feel like there's some pomp and circumstance to that, right? And I'm sure it's a situation where the team's happy to have him, the fans are happy to see him, and you connect with your teams that way, right? So, season's getting started, and you do mention kind of the Thunder Hockey Club, and I also really want to congratulate Coach Hodge on that. What a tough off season, like you say, getting bounced around, shifting some rinks here, and really having to deal with a lot of things behind the scenes, dealing with them successfully, dealing with them professionally, putting 2 wins up on the board, one of them against the defending NCDC Dineen Cup champion South Shore Kings. Yeah,
100%. And you look throughout the Knoll, Lucas, how about Coach Cody Murphy and Ray Welsh? The Elmira Aviators 3-1-0 to kick things off. 16 goals for in their first 4 games. They're scoring 4 a night. Coach Cody Murphy, unofficial, not sure yet if he's broken out the driving gloves on the bench yet, is the look of the century. Cody Murphy, this is a young man that could coach at any level of hockey and win.
And he's proven that, right? That is not something that we just kind of throw out there. He has coached at every level. He's won. He's been successful. It's about recruitment, it's about training, it's about being on the bench and being a leadership presence. And I think when any team can start off with a winning record in their first season, that's incredible. With Cody Murphy and Ray Welsh as part of that group, you almost feel like you expect it. I've talked to Ray Welsh a lot this offseason, a lot of different conversations we've had, and he's just excited. He's excited about the team this year. He's excited about the program. He loves the group that he's working with. So I think we can expect a lot from this Elmira side.
Yeah, you look at the company they're keeping there. They're tied right now with the Maryland Black Bears, part of that Youngstown conglomerate that runs half of hockey. And it's a strong start for the Elmira Aviators. You look over the Binghamton Buzz and the NA3, successful start for them as well. These are going to be exciting teams in that New York Regional Watch all season long.
100%. And we're hearing a lot of buzz about Binghamton for sure. A lot of players who might be knocking on the door of that team to try to secure a spot and like we said, what is a really well-run group.
Lucas, another story in hockey just to quickly touch upon. How about Florida Gulf Coast going out there and taking 2 from Liberty in ACHA hockey? A little club hockey action. Exciting watch this weekend. The bigger story is just how good Liberty does at the broadcast production. Like, this is not like 3 at the most cameras that are just stuck on walls. These are people with auto cams and real cams and 20 different shots. And it looked like I was watching like hockey night in Canada, watching this Liberty game this past weekend.
Yeah, this ain't no RoboCam with an RCA cable connected to a soundboard, right? This is real stuff, and it's real fun. I love the investment that Liberty and so many other teams at the ACHA level, the junior level, at the NCAA level are putting into these broadcasts. A broadcast is how you interact with 95% of the people that watch. You have fans in the building, obviously. You have parents and supporters who come out and watch. But that broadcast, that's how your message gets out. That's how your team gets out. That's how you recruit. So I love to see teams that really put in that investment, and it pays off. It pays dividends. Maybe not right away. Maybe not in Q2 or Q3 after a Q1 investment, but it pays off down the road.
Yeah, over in the EHL, Lucas, they've just kicked things off. The Vermont Lumberjacks going 3-0 to start the season in that North Division. 15 goals for, 6 against, a +9 right there. The East Coast Wizards with a winning start against the Boston Junior Terriers. With a winning start, the Boston Junior Terriers 0-1 to kick off the season. Real good start for the New Jersey Bears. Another great logo in hockey. There's a lot of bear logos that I enjoy in hockey. Bears, dogs. I feel like those tend to be the best logos for DK.
Well, bears, of course, simply large dogs that are a little less friendly. Although I have seen some unfriendly dogs, and it really does throw you for a loop. And I've seen some friendly bears. It's kind of a mixed bag, but I think it's a great start for some of these teams in the EHL. That league starting off strong. Congratulating those guys on another successful season start. We saw the E-Show kick things off. I believe it was 2 weeks ago with their first show. So those guys are back at it, covering the EHL top to bottom, and it's an exciting. Hockey's finally back. Everybody thinks that, you talk to some of these owners, and a lot of people around hockey know this. Every owner, every coach will tell you, not real sure. It's tough. Not real sure what's going to happen. And then they just come out and they dominate. They come out with like a full team of great skaters, and everything's right with the world. So, September brings hockey, brings some stability, and brings some calm amongst the nervous coaches and owners.
Yeah, there could be some ease in our future with the Dan K Show here over the next coming months. We'll keep you guys posted on that. We'll have updates there. Great conversations this offseason, one with the leader of that E-Show who excited to see what they have in their future. It's an exciting league right now. It's one that we can certainly get behind watching and enjoy seeing the game played. Got a chance to call the NCDC Dineen Cup Finals last year with Jefferson Mills, one of those voices on the E-Show, a guy who has put up with us accidentally bumping him off the air about 20 times in his podcasting career. We apologize. Every single time genuinely wasn't our fault with the bump. It was scheduling mishaps and snafus that should not exist at showcases that did. But no, it's been exciting kind of watching along as they've gotten their season off to a start as well.
Yeah, it's been a good start, and along those same lines, I do want to thank Commissioner Mark Frankenfeld from the NAHL for taking the time to talk to us this off season. These people are more busy than any of us even realize, and to really take the time to have some good conversations with us was fantastic. And yeah, you look at what Jefferson is doing with, like you said, the E-Show with the South Shore Kings with his college career. South Shore Kings are going to be an interesting team to watch this year, man. It's hard to defend a trophy. It's hard to defend, especially a Dineen Cup. It's a long season, though. And you know what they say, Dan? Good teams get better.
You say that. Lucas Jones says that over and over all the time.
Yeah, but they say it.
We were at a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and they certainly must not have been a good team.
They did not get better.
I forgot. It was terrible. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you've never been to a football game in September in Tampa, Florida, it's 179 degrees. There is no wind flow, and you just sit there and you sweat until it's over.
Yeah, the frozen drink's not so frozen after 5 minutes, but the vibe's immaculate. The cannon is loud. Unfortunate they couldn't get it done, but hey, the NFL's weird this year. What are you going to do?
Lucas, what else do we have coming up on the show here? I think we've got something coming soon.
We do. We're about to kick you over to an interview with our newest correspondent, James Blenow, who is started up Ice Level, which is a NCAA D1 focused and later on in the year NCAA D3 focused podcast, features audio, video, interviews. Most recently, he's assembled the Avengers of College Hockey to do some previews. You can check those out by following Ice Level with James Blenow on Spotify. But that content's going to get posted through the Dan K Show, so you don't have to go anywhere. Sit back and enjoy our interview with James Blenow. We've got a man who doesn't yet know how to compare the economics of plastic and paper plates because he's still young. He still has that youthful zeal, that energy, that constantly functioning back that Dan and I no longer have in our old age. And for young people who come on the show, we like to let them introduce themselves to set the tone for their podcast episode. So now on the count of 3, you will introduce yourself to the folks at home. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, everybody. My name is James Blenow. I am the host of Ice Level via the Dan K Show. First of all, I do have a functioning back. Second of all, I do not understand the economics of silverware. I go shopping for my mother for graduation parties, and I'm like, what do you need? And I get it.
That's a smart move. I make myself a list throughout the week to become more disciplined, because then if I can pretend the list was written by someone else and I can't go off the list. But yes, we have James with us today, and we have already been featured on his podcast, Ice Level. You've seen our faces alongside his. You've heard our voice alongside his. But now we wanted to bring him on our platform so that you can be formally introduced to the young man who has created Ice Level, which will be covering D1 NCAA hockey with some D3 sprinkled in, especially as the season gets going. And we wanted to introduce you to what James is doing because it's been absolutely fantastic so far. And before long, pretty much everybody's going to know who he is. So you're going to want to get in on the ground floor with a guy like this. So, James, first of all, I want you to talk about your background and your experience, because you submitted a resume that was extremely dense with relevant experience in terms of your hockey coverage. So give the folks a little background on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I attend Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac. Dan would not know how to pronounce that if this was about 20 minutes ago.
He's already getting on
your
case.
Quinnipiac. I've been pronouncing it right for decades.
Yeah, I attend Quinnipiac University. I am studying journalism with a focus in sports broadcasting. I have been producing a weekly sports news show for the past 2 years. I stepped down from that this year. I've been a beat reporter for multiple teams on the campus. I've been creating content all around the sports world. I've been watching hockey since I was like 5 years old. You know, if this is going up on video, they'll see the Islanders flag behind me. I introduced that in my first episode. But I love this sport, especially at the college level. I tell this story all the time. When I first was committing to Quinnipiac, I was glued to the TV during that game against Michigan when Rand pulled the goalie down 5-4 and Michigan ended up going up. I was heartbroken. So if that doesn't explain enough passion for the game of hockey, then I don't know what does.
So it's passion created by a small amount of sports related trauma is what that is. As with all of us, I feel, on this podcast, Dan and his New York Knicks, myself and the New York Giants. I mean, Dan as well with the New York Giants, but it doesn't get easier, I feel like, Dan.
Yeah, Dan as well with Everton, Dan as well with the New York Rangers.
You
Well,
picked Everton. You didn't have to pick Everton, but
I
you did.
Everton picked me. I ambled into a beautiful Turnmill bar in Manhattan, New York, and it was history since then. But no, I think that's how we all get shaped into this, right? And I think that's where we kind of fell in love with James here. Me meeting James honestly for the first time in person today, but learning about him through Lucas, like it's passion for the game. And if there's one thing we love at this show, man, it's trying to elevate people with the same passions we have and people who are more professional than us to get to higher professional ranks. Like one day, James is going to be our boss, and we're going to be better for it, and that's the goal.
Well, James has won awards. You and I have not yet won an award. So, James, what you did win some awards at Quinnipiac, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually in Q30 television. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my freshman year, I was sports rookie of the year for the whole department. And then that year, as an associate producer on Sports Pause, we did a special episode for the national championship, and our staff ended up winning honorable mention at the College Media Awards for the Division III sports video cast. So, that might be the thing I'm most proud of is the team achievement because we all really poured our heart and soul into that episode, and we're actually going for another one this year. So,
Now, the team achievement is interesting because we always tell people that on the Dan K show, it's every piece of content that comes out is from who you see right now. It's myself and Dan, and now you, James, are included in that. What is it like working with a team of people that are as passionate kind of as yourself, and what even constitutes that team environment for making a show? Because I think people maybe don't realize how many people are involved in the production of a sports show.
no, yeah, I always say it takes an army, and I've built up for this show and this brand in its young life, I've built up a sort of principle of interdependence, because without me, it wouldn't exist, but without the people that I bring in, there wouldn't be a story. And so having a team is everything because filling in the things that you can't on your own is the most important way to give people the best experience that they can have.
I love that. I mean, it resonates with us, Dan. I mean, we feel like we've put together a pretty good team the last 2 years, and they've just made all the difference for us.
Yeah, and you talk about awards. We're still waiting for a thank you from the USPHL, but I mean, I'll take that. It's just on like a little piece of paper. But no, you look at it. I just the understanding of team, I think, is something that is so important to every member, right? Like every team's got a captain, every team's got a role player, every team's got that bench guy who just brings the vibes in the locker room. Every team's got it takes a village, right, to be successful in anything, especially in media, to create a storyline. And James, what I love about what you're saying, and I think this is a great thing for other young journalists and up and comers in this industry that I think has gone away, is your respect for your subject and the fact that your subject is just as vital to the success of your show and your content as you are, right? We're all so focused on being a brand nowadays. People, these idiots putting their name on shows where their name is the title of the show. But no, you look at like people are trying to build brands these days and they're doing it in spite of the subject matter, in spite of building a great piece of content, in spite of informing their listener and giving them a reason to come back for more. And James, from your interview that I listened to with Johnny Lazarus, to your content early on, and some of the stuff I've researched into what you've done, that respect for your subject matter is something that's going to set you apart and does set you apart right now, going into the future in your media career. And it's something that I think our listeners really need to pay attention to because you are going to learn more from what James is doing than you do from anything else in this realm of sport.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to add this onto my little outro that I put on Zoom that I'm going to end up editing in later is how I ended my first episode was I'm not an expert and neither are you, but together we're going to grow this game. And, that's what I want to do. I want to learn with the audience. I want to learn with the people that I bring on because nobody wants to listen to a guy that just yaps about everything that he knows for like 20 minutes. what people want to listen to is just like a regular guy who maybe knows something about hockey more than the average person, but is able to bring it to people who don't know about what's going on in college hockey. I mean, I've said this to myself. I don't know if I've said this to you guys, but I'm going weekly during the season. And maybe I won't have a guest on every single episode, but what I will have is an accessible way to find all the biggest stories in the college hockey world, the games of the week, the players of the week, and just condense it all into something that, the average NHL fan can understand.
Welcome back, hockey fans. It is time to go through our players of the week, a new segment for the Dan K Show where we will be covering every single U.S. junior hockey league in the U.S. and giving you the top performer in the Dan K Show's mind from each. This is the most prestigious player of the week honor and nod you can get in all of hockey. And Lucas, week one, we start in the USHL Tier 1 hockey. The Waterloo Blackhawks' own Calvin Vachon, a 33-save shutout in his first start of the season.
The problem is you're setting the standard too high. First start of the season shutout, you're already at the top. Now what are you going to do? That's a great way to start the season. Huge confidence boost. Not like these guys need the confidence, but they'll take it. It's just a great performance. 33 saves as well. That is no joke. That is a lot of shots on net.
Yeah, and this is a young man that, any shutout in hockey is an achievement, right? Anytime you can put a blank up on the board is an achievement. But when you're talking about doing it at the highest level of play in the U.S. and one of the highest level of plays in all the land, that's where it just takes it to another level. This guy, Waterloo Blackhawks star, dominating in net to kick off the season. Exciting rest of the way for him. Let's keep moving through it, Lucas. We go to the next biggest league in all of junior hockey, the NAHL, Alex Lorenza of the Austin Bruins. We talked about Bear logos before. Well, this guy played one game, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, 2 of those goals, both coming on the power play. What I liked about Lorenza's game was his special teams ability. This is a guy that at the next level, wherever he ends up, he's going to find a lot of success on the power play.
It's the 3 Ps of hockey, Dan. Power, play, points. That's where games are won and lost.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I had no clue.
It's keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, and this is a guy who keeps you on your toes. Lorenza's lengthy. He's an 05 birth year. He's still got some time to play here in junior hockey. Just you cannot give him space. And when you get on the power play, you get on special teams, that's the time he finds that space. That's the time he becomes dangerous. Watch out for Lorenza all season long. He is on my must-see list on the Dan K Show. Next up, we go to EHL hockey. We move down the list, kind of that ladder of development in hockey, those places you should play. The USHL, the NAHL, now in the EHL, Cam Wickens of the Vermont Lumberjacks. We talked about Vermont earlier in the show, starting off 3-0 to kick off the season. 2-0 start, 2-0, 2-0-0. They throw the extra O in there for ties, but there's never ties. I don't know why we still got the tie in there. We're not playing college hockey, right? There's not the tie. 91 saves on 94 shots faced, a 1.47 goals against, a 9.68 saves percentage, and a shutout to his name. A perfect start for Vermont and Cam Wickens.
Get him some sports therapy, get him an ice bucket, stopping 91 shots on 94 attempts. That is a lot of work for that padding to do, but a great job, especially like you say, in the first couple games of the season.
Next up, we go to the USPHL Premier, games that we were at. If we're in the building, it's going to be a lot easier to pick out a performer, and this young man stood tall. Gage Cerconi, goaltender, 2004 birth year from the Florida Junior Blades. Not just a 2-0 weekend, Lucas, but a 2-0 weekend as what many in junior hockey not seeing. You don't see the puck drop yet, right? You haven't seen anybody play. You look and you say, Bold City, a team that won the Florida division last year. You look at Florida, a team that was up and down, had a decent season, not exactly where they wanted to be. Coach Lightning Rod back behind the bench. And this Florida Junior Blades team comes out of the weekend 2-0 in the USPHL Premier. 2-0-0 Gage Cerconi starts both games, a 1.94 goals against, a 9.48 saves percentage, 73 saves on 77 shots against. The big thing is just these were games that without Gage in net or without a strong performance out of Gage, Bold City takes them. This is a creative team. This is a team that when you're facing a shot against Bold City, it's always a tough ask to stop that thing. Guys like Bryson Wall skating up on you. I think a huge weekend at a Gage Cerconi.
Yeah, it's a big weekend, bit of a proving point as well. You'll always kind of be able to hang your hat on this, and like you said, against a team that won the Florida division last year, it's an impressive performance.
Speaking of impressive performances, we go to the NA3HL. Carson Spear. What a start for this young man. 3 games played in the past week, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points, a +6 as a skater out there on the ice, a power play goal, 2 game-winning goals. You love having that public tracking software, that professional software that does the hockey statistics for you and allows someone like Dan K of the Dan K Show to find your plus minus publicly. That is so important rather than just Autobots on the wall or people trying their best with AI to guess what has happened on the ice. What a job by the NA3. What a job by the Null. +6 from Carson Spear, the 04.
I mean, that's a number, again, you can't really argue with, right? The plus minus, I know that sometimes it's overused, overanalyzed, but when you can put a +6 up, that just means you're part of the action. You're part of the positivity, which is great.
Yeah, from the Texas Roadrunners here, this is a guy in Carson Spear who is going to be a problem all season long. This guy's going triple digits in points if he stays healthy and guaranteeing it right now. Watch out for the 100-point club for Carson Spear. We move on down to the NCDC. How about those Westchester Wolves? We talked about them earlier. Well, none better than Griffin Davis. You've already heard a 91-94 saves to shots against split in this chat about players of the week, and he did it as well. 2-0-0 on the weekend, 91 saves on 94 shots against, a 1.50 goals against, and a .968 saves percentage. Griffin Davis, this young man, is stellar.
Yeah, I mean, for Westchester, welcome to the NCDC, right? You're going to have to stop a ton of shots, and you have to score some goals on the other end. But I think for that netminder, a solid opening weekend, and big things may be expected out of the squad.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he's doing, man. You talked earlier about a guy from the USHL and Calvin Vachon. That's a young man who's committed to the University of Alaska Fairbanks for the 25-26 campaign. Griffin Davis is a guy putting up similar numbers, right? And we talked about the NCDC before. I call it goaltender U. It's very similar to like that vibe where like LSU wide receivers. If you draft an LSU wide receiver, it's going to go well. If you bring in an NCDC netminder, they tend to perform well no matter what level they end up at. Griffin Davis is a guy who will be on a lot of scouts' radars the rest of the way. Next up, we go to the EHL Premier, and it's Cole Davidson of the Adirondack Junior Thunder. 1 game played, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. The shorthanded goal is the biggest story. This guy was on 2 PK units, able to score on 1 of them. Cole Davidson, you like to see a guy who can be on the offensive end, who can play defensively. If you're playing EHLP hockey as a 2005 birth year, the big thing is you want to be developing, right? And this is a guy that's showing you that he can score the puck. He's now showing you he can kill the penalty. These are little things you want to be overturning in this year of junior hockey before you get to your age-out season next year. Cole Davidson is on the right path early out of the gates.
Ask a coach about a penalty kill, and they'll say, oh, we're happy that we have one, but we wish we didn't need it. Now you start adding goals on the penalty kill, all of a sudden coaches may change their tune. When you can get goals down a man that is so huge, great work.
And then you go to a similar story in the USPHL Elite. Potomac Patriots' very own Braylon Cox, a 2005 centerman. 2 games played, 4 goals. The big story, 4 goals in 1 game. This guy nearly put up a handful in 1 game. A 5-point weekend for him. A game-winning score in that 4-goal performance. You score 4 in a game, 1 of them tends to be a game winner. It's crazy if it's not. It almost mathematically is impossible that it wouldn't be. But Braylon Cox, this was the most shared story from our Players of the Week campaign this first week of it. This is a young man who, you talk about the same things. You talk about being able to show you have the skill to score the puck at this level so that when you get to your age-out season, you are ready to tear through the league at the next level or wherever you end up. Braylon Cox is a great story out of Potomac, and he's in a great place with Grossi, man, with Alex Gross there to really develop this young man into a great skater and great player at the next level.
You know, a baker's dozen is a dozen plus one. How about a baker's hat trick? 3+1 there for the young man. That is an impressive performance and just means he's consistent, right? And you love to see it. You can't expect 4 goals a game every game, but I suspect that number is going to be pretty high towards the end of the year.
Do you think you've watched a player of the week performance in any of the levels of U.S. junior hockey? Please reach out. Reach out to us at @the_Dan Show. That's at @the_Dan Show. Slide into those DMs and let us know the performance you saw that we should be highlighting. One player from each league. One player. It is the most prestigious, most difficult to earn prize in all of junior hockey, and it will be around all season long. If you'd like to put your company's name next to these banners, this most watched content, Lucas, over 50,000 impressions in the first 12 hours after this content dropped this past week. It is certainly a nice little ship to jump upon and sail across the ocean that is trying to get your product seen.
The most watched show in junior hockey, I'd say it's back, but it's more like we never left, and we're only getting bigger. So now is the time to, as Dan said, jump on this ship. You can reach out into our DMs, www.dankshow.com. Use the contact form and get your business mentioned alongside us.
Lucas, parting words. Every player, every level, every league. #outwork everyone. The Dan K Show, the most watched show in junior hockey. A lot of outreach throughout the weekend in support of us after the crazy offseason we went through. We'd like to thank the hundreds of you that reached out in our DMs and tell you guys that we are fighting the good fight with you. Players first. All that matters to us at the end of the day is that every player around the country, every family investing in this great game gets the best experience possible and gets a spotlight shined on them by somebody who doesn't make money off of doing it directly from them. When Dan K's on the mic, it's always hockey night. Keep chatting to you next week on the Dan K Show.